Okay, so metal.
Metal.
The show's about metal.
What is metal? We're going to spread the hidden value in music.
We're going to proselytize. We're going to get the word out there.
We are.
That's important.
All right. Welcome to the Great Metal Podcast, episode 23. I'm the Metal Evangelist Luke, and I am here with Shredmaster Scott and Just Pete. And did you know that Mario was a metalhead?
I didn't, but let's check it out. He's really running down that track there.
Here he comes, Bowser.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy AF.
He was just finger tapping. Metal Mario.
I think he's using his pick.
That's pick tapping then, Luke.
Yeah, pick tapping.
Yeah.
Which is a cool sound. I actually really like that sound.
It's a different sound, isn't it? Than
It
just
is.
regular finger tapping. I always forget to do that. That's good you brought that up.
Yeah, no, you should do pick tapping more often for sure.
I just never think to do it.
Yeah, well, hello, Matthew Corns, man. You are a faithful follower here. This is awesome. Glad to have you joining us here. So in case you couldn't figure it out by that little intro, today we are talking about metal.
8-bit metal.
8-bit metal.
Sorry, I didn't.
Metal
I just
and
got excited.
the relationship of metal and video games is probably won't go too heavy into the philosophy behind it, but we're gonna get into it. Really, really cool stuff. So, but first, we've got some news items for you.
Let's get the news.
Yeah,
It's going down.
let's start with the non-controversial one, although it's a little controversial. So Stern Pinball Machines just announced this week that they're releasing a Led Zeppelin themed pinball machine. Pinball machines are all the rage these days, and Stern has done a whole series of rock and metal pinball machine graphics.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done Kiss, they've done AC/DC, Cheap Trick, the Beatles, all those guys. But interestingly enough, they've never done one for the Who.
Pinball Wizard, right? Seems like the most logical place to start.
If I'm a pinball machine manufacturer and I'm going to do a series on music and bands, I would have started with the Who.
You know, they probably couldn't get
The
the
Who?
rights.
Oh,
It
that's
was
actually a
probably,
great
like,
point. That's a
too
great point.
obvious of a connection.
Dude, if that's the reason, that
Like-
is so lame. Like,
I
somebody
almost
write the
guarantee
Who a letter and be like, you guys are lame.
I bet you
somebody write the
I bet
Who a
you
letter.
what happened. And by the way, this trend of pinball coming back is great. I think pinball is a good game.
It's
But
fun.
I bet you what happened is somebody bought the rights to the pinball wizard machine a long time ago, and now they don't make pinball machines anymore
Just
because
of
they
that.
went out of business when pinball was going down, and now Stern's
Yeah.
coming back with a bunch of great tables, and they can't get those rights.
that
Yeah, we got to get over that. Like, it's good for your brand, to let people duplicate stuff. It's only good for you.
Well, it's true. And like hoarding brand or hoarding copyrights, not allowing them to be put out there for access to people it's really a negative thing.
Well, it deletes you from the annals of history. If you want to be remembered, you want your material to be easily distributed, not behind lock and key. That's just-
and you should totally profit from it. But at the same time, it shouldn't be
we are profiting
yeah,
from it now, right? We have those kind of measures in place, more or less.
totally. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
nothing to worry about. Yeah.
So anyway, that sucks. Hopefully one day they'll figure that shit out. But so moving on to a slightly more controversial topic.
Dive into the wetlands, Luke. The
Here we go.
wetland Controversy.
The wet.
Into the wetlands. Yeah. So a rather famous, one might say, disgusting.
Mildly famous.
Yeah, mildly famous, disgusting human being himself. Snoop Dogg who is kind of known for saying some rather sexual things about women, has come out criticizing WAP or WAP.
This is nuts. Just keep it WAP, dude.
WAP. Yeah. He doesn't fap to WAP. Oh, no, that wouldn't work. Fap to WAP. That's what you'd have to say. It would have to be WAP.
Fap to WAP.
Yeah.
WAP to FOP.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Tongue is smooth, but.
Yeah, so Snoop comes out. Everybody's bashing him for saying it, but basically he came out.
It's just Offset, right? Or sorry, go ahead, and then we'll talk about the other dude.
Yeah, well, so he just came out on Revolt TV and said, here's his quote: slow down, and let's have some imagination. Let's have some privacy,
foreplay, bro.
Yeah.
He just wants a little bit of foreplay, like. Ease up and just give him a little time to get in the mood. Snoop needs to, have a little puff and just kind of ease into it.
That's a good point. He doesn't want, to walk in the door and boom, it's over.
You got to buy me a drink before you ask me up to your room.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, and that might be the core problem with WAP, right?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the problems. Yeah. Yeah.
No foreplay, just right into it.
Well, and Snoop did say that, if he were a 20-year-old male, he might be all about it. But he said now he has a 21-year-old daughter, and he's like, hey, daughter, your sexuality, he called it her jewel of the Nile.
That's a great term there. I love it.
It is. It's a really, really good reference. And so he's like, that's something you should guard, protect, and then give it away when you're ready to give it away, but not just throw it all out there all at once for everybody. And so Snoop is getting
the guy
some
who
trouble.
criticized Snoop, Offset. Turns out Offset, I don't know if you guys know, but he's Cardi B's husband.
Oh,
well,
yeah, he's got a vested interest.
He's got a vested interest in criticizing this approach. Yeah, he was like, listen, bro, women have been suppressed for millions of years, and it's time for them, to just do their thing.
Yeah.
I think Cardi B, this is like a recent thing with her. Like she was with someone else, had a kid maybe, and then this is like a new thing maybe. I don't know. I don't know how long Offset's been around, but it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think there's more better things in the world, like 8-bit metal.
Oh, yeah.
I say we just get right into it. I'm so excited about this topic. If you can't tell, probably if you're not.
Yeah.
Look, you got you Triforce.
A Triforce shirt.
Hells yeah.
Is that in Japanese?
It is.
Okay. What? Okay. So what are the three?
What are those characters?
Do you know from the game what they are?
I know what they are in English. I don't know what they are in Japanese.
Okay. This one's power.
Yeah.
This one's courage.
And
this one's knowledge or wisdom.
Yeah, I always knew it as wisdom.
Wow, that's a great trifecta. I thought it was vodka, gin, and rum, but no. This is
you mean cognac and gin? Cognac.
Oh man, Luke, you're double fisted.
Yeah.
Oh, we got it all.
Yeah, and beer. So we have the trifecta too.
Plus, you're drinking Japanese gin, right?
Luke? It is, yeah. So it's called Roku,
which means 6.
Which means 6. So it's 6 unique Japanese ingredients in the gin.
So you just need to pour 3 shots in there to get the 666 benefits of health.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
I think that meets a death metal seal of approval. He's such a good seal.
Fat metal. This is fat metal.
Yeah, he's approving.
Look at the fake seal on his back.
Maybe that's what he's meant. Maybe that's why he's going so strong. He's like, what is that? I can't get my...
Yeah, he's like, get it up. Get it off my back.
He can't get his flapper up there, though.
No, his flapper's too short.
So 8-bit metal, good stuff.
8-bit metal, yeah. So, no, this is actually, something that... we've like, so the connection between gaming and particularly like metal, heavier music, has actually been around a long time. In fact, one might say that it was connected by, maybe you want to cue up this video here, back in the 70s by the Who, which we were just talking about.
Is this how this all started, you think?
Well, so like even back then there was like I think it was this rebellious nature of rock music also was like, it was rebellious to like go down to the arcade or something. I'm not 100% sure, but
the arcade was kind of, I think, viewed as like a waste of time. A lot of time, like music is viewed as a waste of time, like rock music.
Yeah,
it's where you went with your teenage friends or whatever and just, jack off, waste time after school. I think of like that Terminator 2, right? Because there's a whole sequence.
That's right.
In the arcade. And yeah, that was, I don't know what the equivalent of that would be now. Maybe Instagram DMs.
Maybe it's certainly more of a virtual place, but yeah, I mean, so the silver ball, let's get a little reminder of what the silver ball was all about.
There. Look at that classic. Yeah.
Look at him. He's just sitting there.
Movement,
yeah, wrenching on that guitar.
That's good hair.
Windmill, though. I want to see the windmill. Might be coming here. Once he kicks on the gain.
He's just going everywhere.
Playing that silver ball.
Play my silver balls, Luke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those are good outfits. But also, I just love the topic. So, there's so many directions we could go with this topic, but one thing I was also thinking kind of ties the two together, and all the way back to pinball. I mean, let's be honest, it's very much a game of skill. There's a part of chance, but if you watch somebody that's good at pinball, there's a difference between somebody that's not. And I think gaming and then rock and then heavy metal and metal, as it turned in, became more and more about skill to an extent, but also the artistry of it, right? Like the pinball machines are awesome, like the worlds they create, and in video games, the worlds and the art and the imaginative aspect, but then also the technical prowess. And
is there a digital equivalent of pinball? Like, can you get on a website? Is this a thing? Do people do this?
There are
like on the internet play pinball.
Yeah. There are definitely pinball video games for sure.
Yeah.
I've never been all that big into pinball. I remember playing as a kid, but I was more into games like physically going to an arcade. It was like that game Rampage, where you could play as the giant gorilla or the giant lizard. Man, I loved that game. And of course, you had games like Street Fighter and all that. But there's definitely the connection. I mean, all art to some degree. Media is, a form of escapism. And so, entertainment in the music sense and the gaming sense, one of the things, it's not inherent to video games, but what draws a lot of people to metal in particular is, this escape to a new world, but also it's like the darker stuff, right?
I like the dark stuff. Come to the dark side. Yeah.
Pop is all about love, basically. And then sometimes it's about the loss of love, but it's like love and the loss of love. That's all you get in pop music.
Yeah.
And in metal, we've talked about this a million times, they deal with all kinds of different emotions, hurt and grief and pain and sorrow and all this stuff. And certainly game, and not all gaming is dark. I mean, Mario is, rather upbeat, lighthearted game. But
Bowser's trying to kill you
and you fall into lava.
Took your punene. Which,
he did.
The hard part.
Nobody appreciates that.
Mario has lost his punene so many times. Man, find new punene.
That's nice. Subtle, that's subtle sexuality.
that is not WAP level stuff there.
Cardi B's in the chat.
Yeah.
Device. Yeah. Slow down. Foreplay.
Yeah.
You can make a piece of content with like Snoop and Cardi B and then foreplay. I can just imagine that in my mind.
Oh my gosh.
Slow it down, Cardi.
Slow it down. Yeah. So anyway, there's always been a connection between, heavier music and the gaming community. I mean, growing up, those are like my two favorite things. I also like to read a lot, but because that's also, fantasy and fantasy fulfillment, whatever.
Romantic fantasy novels. Is that what you read, Luke?
No, like high fantasy stuff, like wizards and elves and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
but Led Zeppelin had references to Lord of the Rings and their music, and I think that again, the high fantasy and the rock, hard rock, and then into metal, that just carried that. There's that imaginative element to it. I think is what connects the things strongly.
Yeah. It's also why you don't see too many metal bands, quote unquote, sell out like you do in pop music where, they just go with whatever, the next trend is. Because for them, it's a career. And whereas for metal bands, it's a lifestyle. It's who they are. Right. And you tend not to sell out who you are very easily. So anyway, way off the beaten path. So throughout the the 70s and then into the 80s, 80s is obviously when home consoles exploded. So the video game industry took off like there's no tomorrow.
So the NES came out in Japan in when?
1984. Well, in Japan it might have been 83.
Really?
A little bit
US,
earlier.
it was 84.
Yeah.
The US came a little bit later.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was right there in the mid 80s. And of course you had like the Atari before that. And so, I mean, there were certainly video games before that. But that's when you really started getting
the Famicom, which is what it was called in Japan, was released July 15th, 1983.
There you go. 1983 in Japan. Yeah. So it's probably 84 in North America. 85. Okay. Yeah.
Years. Wow.
So I remember my brother getting one. Oh boy, I'd have been really young.
The speed of the world we live in now, though, right? Like, I mean, they were Nintendo in Japan, opposite side of the world, right? And to localize the games and transport them over here and yeah.
So yeah, I mean that the 80s were.
By the way, quick shout out, Gaming Historian. If you want to dive into this, he's got a great YouTube channel called The Gaming Historian, and he's got a good one on the NES and the history of the NES.
Yeah, it's true. We watch them all the time when we're working out.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, video games as we know them today really got rocking and rolling, took off in the 80s, and a lot of references to video games in music throughout the 80s and the 90s. And then you started to see like the reverse, because in the 80s and early part of the 90s, the music in games was all 8-bit music, right? So it was like MIDI type sequences.
Flips and leaps and blops.
Yeah, exactly. Like you heard at the beginning of the video clip we played at the intro. And
could arguably be why those early games were like there's so much nostalgia, and it ties so easily to the music because the tools were limited. Melody, a driving, easily identifiable melody was key in the music.
Yeah, that's so true. The limitations often is what makes us creative.
Yeah. So, so. The video games were using MIDI to write these what are now today unforgettable melodies, and Koji Kondo and these types of guys are doing incredible stuff back then.
Real quick, I want to make a point here because it's not about the production quality. So many people I get in my Instagram DMs or whatever responding to me in the comment section saying, I can't start my music because I don't have the tools. I don't have a quality recording setup. Okay, that's not if these songs became as memorable as they were, and just a very low fidelity quality, it's about the melody and the harmony and the song. You
A
know,
lot of those musicians were very like classically trained. It's like, hey, you know how to like write for an orchestra here. Now you have to write something with this super limitation, and you got to fit it on a tiny cartridge. So it's got to be repeatable, and it's got to sound good, repeatable. And so it's like they forced them, like you said, into that narrow set, and that
I don't think you necessarily need all that training to make good music. You know,
right?
It's just start. Just start is the point I'm trying to make. You know, don't wait until you feel like you have all the right tools. You need to be developing your skills, and just work with your limitations. That's it. In fact, that might be what sets you apart from everyone else, is that you have a unique sound based on your personal limitations, and that's your power potentially.
Oh yeah, we just got a power talk from Shred, man.
It's a little
a
little aside. All right,
free Shred advice.
But that's also, I mean, that's so true.
And chiptune actually ties into that too, right? Because now we have people in the modern day emulating the low fidelity.
Yes, absolutely.
So that even solidifies the point more.
Black metal has always done that, except black metal does it intentionally, and it also sounds terrible. But that's a whole nother thing.
Sometimes it's distracting. Like I remember listening to a record that you bought, Luke. I think it was black metal. I can't remember the name of the band, but the production quality was so bad.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them. and it does. If it's too low, it's actually difficult to listen to. But anyway, so music is happening on the big stage, we'll call it. And they're referencing gaming, and then gaming's doing their thing on the little stage at that time. And of course, the gaming industry now is,
huge,
10 times bigger than the film industry. And I mean, it's enormous.
Yeah, it's like even bigger in film. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, way bigger. And so, anyway, so then what started happening is when games started emulating, trying to emulate more of the popular metal music. So if you ask any gamer, metalhead, or whatever, he's like, what's the most metal, gaming music or whatever? Consistently, you hear things like Doom, right?
Yes. For metal too. Every time I ask what is the most metal video game soundtrack, it's Doom.
Yeah.
I think we got a good clip for that one, huh?
Yeah. So this is a cover. This is a metal cover of the Doom soundtrack. So it's like, I don't know. It's
double metal.
It repeating itself over itself. Yeah. So here.
It's great. Already.
That's a great song. I love this song.
I love it. I love that his face.
No look.
Yeah.
So now remember Doom. So Doom, the original Doom soundtrack, came out in 1993.
Yeah.
For PC. And
is that what this is?
Yeah. So that's the theme from it.
Yeah.
Only obviously was not played on, real instruments in 1993. But that's the theme. So it
reminds me a little bit of the Contra 3 soundtrack. Like some of the samples.
You're in luck, Shred. Because
we actually Contra.
We've got a little bit of Contra coming up later. Yeah. Yeah.
Score.
So anyway, so there is definitely, and of course, video games went through the same type of pop culture criticism that metal did, because they said, oh, metal is making kids kill everybody, which is a joke. And then they were like, oh, playing violent video games like Doom is going to turn an entire generation into murderers and everybody's going to die. The world's over.
Who comes up with these ideas? Who's it? I mean, Tipper Gore was
Tipper Gore, man.
Primarily female driven, these concerns. I don't know.
Wahoo! Okay, well, yeah, I mean, certainly there are definitely some, very conservative, and probably some very liberal males that would also say would drive those buses. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a female thing, but certainly there are the people that are like, hey, consuming something violent causes you to be violent, which study after study after study for the last 30 years has shown it's actually the exact opposite. It's a way of getting rid of your violent tendencies.
Cathartic release.
It's a cathartic release. You actually get it out in the game so that you don't get it out in real life.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but whatever. Whenever there's anything new, everybody is always quick to criticize it because we always
part of the worst. Too. Yeah, it's just new. We got to get used to it.
Yeah. So anyway, so this kind of thing's going back and forth. It's really, really cool. Well, obviously the technology in gaming gets better and better and better. Towards the end of the 90s, particularly when PlayStation came out from Sony, they went to CD-based games. And so they were actually able to use real instrument sampling instead of having to use MIDI. And that just opened the floodgates to what you could do in video games. And of course,
big budget stuff, right? I mean, you get into Abbey Road Studios in London and record the whatever, the new Final Fantasy soundtrack that's coming out. And it's like you said, it's 10 times bigger than film now. So why not?
Right. Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about what was termed in the early 2000s Nintendo Core.
Yeah.
Nintendo Core. Yeah. Nintendo Core. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, a couple of bands formed that started playing video game music. And so an example
was like their goal. They're like, we set out to become video game metal.
Yeah. So different people did it different ways. So we've got a clip here from a band called The Advantage. I think they started in like 2001 or 2 or something like that. And they started doing video game medley concerts. So they were playing video game themes. So here's a clip from them doing a Mega Man medley. Gotta love that.
Wow, those two guys are like 7 feet tall.
It might just be the angle, but so this is in San Jose, California. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. As you can see, they've grown up a little bit.
It's just so satisfying.
The bass player thinks he's like the lead.
Gets a little messy here at the end.
Oh,
they were just having too good of a time.
Well, you know what? Oh, go ahead, Shred.
I kind of see the issue. It's hard because you have to figure out how to arrange the music right, to get it to come off.
Yeah.
It's like I would have put one of those guys maybe on rhythm and then the other guy on, the melody. It might have come through a little bit better. But anyway, now
the other thing about video game music is structurally it's actually quite complicated.
Yeah.
They use odd rhythms, and there's a lot of like stopping and starting in places that you wouldn't necessarily do that in like music on the radio
to fit with the game.
Yeah. And so the structure is actually hard to play on a real instrument. Because I mean that was all music that was programmed. It was MIDI. It was programmed music. So
I think for the most part, those guys they got a keyboard in front of them. Because almost all composers are keyboard guys, like Koji Kondo. Right. The Mario dude and Zelda guy. So he would play something out, and then because when I try to play video games, I'm like, this makes sense, but it maybe isn't the most guitaristic thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. Yeah. I've tried to learn some stuff on guitar and I'm like, what? Your finger can't go
Yeah.
to places.
It's hard to just kind of like it's the arranging. It's like hard to figure out how to make all these notes down into something that you can just play in one part on the guitar, and it makes sense, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So in the early 2000s, so bands like that, The Advantage, there were a bunch of others, the Mini Bosses. I think they're still around.
Did this band ever get anywhere? The Advantage is what we just watched.
Yeah, that was The Advantage. By get anywhere, you mean like become commercially successful?
Yeah, like Nintendo Core. Yeah, did they ever get anywhere? I wonder.
I don't know how successful ththese guys were in terms
Like
of
they're just a backyard show there.
Yeah, I mean they'd put on shows. Here's the other one, Bit Brigade. That's the hardest thing in the world to say. Bit Brigade.
Double B.
Try saying it fast. Bit Brigade. Bit Brigade.
Oh yeah, I got through like one.
Yeah.
Bit Brigade.
It's really tough.
Cadence down.
Yeah. So what these guys did, and I think they still do, which is actually really kind of cool. You can watch their videos on YouTube. So they put on a concert, and they have someone playing a video game on the screen behind them, like Castlevania, or in this case, Shred, Contra, and then they play the soundtrack live with their instruments while the dude is playing the video game. So here's a clip of them doing it.
Sounds like a live thing. Like recording quality.
So much reverb right now.
It is kind of cool though, like playing it while someone's playing the game.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
It's
guys, I just noticed. Look at the skin tone difference between us. You guys are like white AF.
I feel like I'm purple.
Color.
Yeah.
Looking at the screen right now, I'm like, oh, I'm freaking purple.
You look more white in my view, but that's the difference between living on the North Pole and living in Los Angeles.
It's so true. We're coming, Shred. Next month we'll be out there with you, and hopefully we can get a little color back in our skin.
A little color back in there, bro.
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard to hear.
Highly saturated, Luke. How about that? You like that?
Okay. That's a whole nother level of purple. Yeah. I'm like neon.
We can get a little, but I'm telling you, that screen looks crazy.
Go the other direction. Get even whiter.
Get even whiter.
Black and whiter.
Yeah.
There we go.
Straight to black and white.
Let's go sepia here. Yeah. So no, it's a really cool concept. So I don't know if these guys actually put out any kind of like album or record or whatnot, because every video I could find of them was all live.
I feel like Nintendo Core never really got off the ground, which is kind of a shame.
Well, because it was more of a live thing, right? And so I remember, so in 2000, I think it was 2002, this organization formed called Video Games Live. And the whole point was to go around the country with a symphony orchestra and perform video game soundtracks. And we went to one and was it in Chicago or something like that?
Yeah, well, we saw one in LA.
Yeah, there was one in LA, and then we went to Final Fantasy
was the one we went to.
Yeah, we went to one in Chicago, and then we went to Final Fantasy did the same thing. Only theirs was called Dear Friends, music from Final Fantasy, and that was in 2004 or 5 that they formed. They were touring Japan before that. They came over to the US.
Umetsu, the Final Fantasy guy, right?
Yep.
The Black Mages.
Yep, which we're going to talk about in a second. Well, I might as well talk about him right now.
Let's talk about
it right now, bro.
Yeah, so and I don't know how to pronounce his name. Nobuo.
I'd have to look it up.
Close enough.
I've always pronounced it Nobuo Umetsu, but I don't speak Japanese.
It's more like Uematsu or something. It's a little different, but that's all right. Everybody knows what we're talking about.
Well, and I have mad respect for the guy. So
Nobuo.
You gotta hear someone say it.
Uematsu. So anyway, this he's what got me into music. That original Final Fantasy soundtrack, that the crystal theme, which I think Shred, you've actually done a video on.
That arpeggio, that
yes.
thing okay, that one,
yeah, I think it's called the crystal theme.
Yeah, that's the crystal. It's like the first screen.
Yeah, right? it's the original Final Fantasy theme. That like just haunted me as a child in such a positive way. And so I was like,
haunted me in a positive way.
Yeah, and then Final Fantasy 2 in the US, which was 4 in Japan, came out, and the music in that, I mean, I can remember just like going to work as a kid because I was a slave child labor, and
I was a slave child.
I would.
We were all slave childs.
Yeah,
and a lot of slave childrening.
To get me through the factory work at like 12 years old, I would just sit there and hum these Final Fantasy themes.
Man, it's brutal.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. So
you should have been allowed to bring a Walkman in and just cook your ears with Umatsu all day.
Yeah, it would have been so nice. But so anyway, so Nobuo, he like this guy got me into like video game soundtracks, and I started buying video game soundtracks later. With Yoko Shimomura, and I don't know if anybody's played the Kingdom Hearts games. But, oh my goodness. Anyway, so the idea was it was after Final Fantasy VII came out, which came out in 96 or 97.
7 here is the most metal of all FF series.
Yeah, right. So that came out. It was the first Final Fantasy game, first Square game on the PlayStation, which was disc based. So they had the ability to use real music samples. And so 7 had, matter of fact, we have a little clip here, but 7 had an actual symphony do a lot of the music. And after the success of the game was obviously enormous. After the success of the game, Uematsu formed a rock band to tour around Japan and play Final Fantasy songs in a rock and roll style. And a lot of times he'd be
what he wanted to do in the first place, right?
Yeah.
It's just that he had to take a roundabout way to actually become a rock star.
Yeah, and he would often they'd typically have like a symphony orchestra with them. But here's probably their most famous piece of all time:
the Black Mages.
It's called One Winged Angel.
One Winged Angel.
Sephiroth, man.
Oh yeah.
Uematsu is on keyboards here, right? You'll see him in a second.
Yeah.
Look at his pants. He's got like, or that's more like just a dress.
I think they're like dresses.
That's
him.
There he is. That's Uematsu there, yeah.
Yep.
He's got a good mustache.
Power stash, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was a huge, because he was by far and away the biggest name in video game composition at the time. And
Koji Kondo.
Right. I mean, Koji Kondo was
those two
before
guys
him.
are probably the biggest together. Koji's probably the biggest though, because he's Zelda and Mario.
Right. But Koji Kondo never had like his music is probably more recognized and well known worldwide, but he didn't like everybody knows Nobuo Uematsu's name. A lot of people don't know who wrote the Mario theme, right? I think Nobuo would actually be more popular.
I think
Kondo,
for the most part, I don't think people really know anybody's name. Who wrote the music. They know the game, but if you asked them who wrote the music, they'd be like, well, I never really thought about that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
100% agree with
that.
Kind
of assume it's just part of the game,
Yeah.
That's one of the frustrating things, about the whole situation. They need to start YouTube channels and then, show us the process, and we'd be much more endeared to them.
Well, the new Animal Crossing that came out in March had the band that played like the theme did a YouTube video, and it was really cool because they play all these different instruments. Did you see that?
Yeah, you sent it to me.
Yeah, it was really cool. So to your point, Shred, it was kind of cool to see the people that recorded it and were behind the music, they kind of did a video showing it off, and I was like, that's sweet.
Yeah, that's all. It just needs to be more visible, and then we get it. But yeah, it's kind of a shame. Like the Chrono Trigger guy, it's like nobody knows that guy. Yasunori Mitsuda, I mean, what an incredible composer. But how much actual notoriety does he get for that? Like -666.
Yeah,
he's not getting the seal fap of approval.
No, he gets the Metal Pig, and he should be getting seal fap of approval.
Yeah, he's getting the negative death metal pig.
He's just getting this. Don't touch me.
Fuck off.
Who's doing that?
Dare you touch
It turns out animals are metal AF.
Animals are metal AF. It's true. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna credit Uematsu with really, finalizing and tying video games and rock and roll metal together. He obviously was one of the early adopters. It was really cool. So
we should get him on the show and ask him about this topic. That would be a good interview.
In all honesty, he would probably be the hardest guy out of all of them.
I gotta get my Japanese chops up because I'd probably have to be translating.
He does speak a little bit of English, but it's really small. I've seen interviews with him, and it's like he knows a line here and there, but then it's usually in
that's
Japanese.
about how much Japanese I know. So the interview would be
really short interview.
Boys, I got this. I'll slide into his DMs on Instagram.
Do it.
Oh,
yeah.
Numatsu, let's get you on the show, bro.
Totally. So yeah, because we want to talk about the black mages. So anyway, we have this like interplay between the gaming industry and metal. Well, then what started happening after all of the Advantage and Bit Brigade? Whew, I got it on the first try. Mini bosses, black mages. So then what started happening is metal bands started forming. Excuse me, that were not necessarily covering video game music, but they were heavily inspired by video games and video game music. So we've got this one band. These guys are actually relatively well known, called Mega Driver, and now they have a lot of music that is not covers of video games, but the instruments that they play in this video were so good, I had to use this video clip. So here they are covering the Sonic the Hedgehog theme. Or no, I'm sorry, Street Fighter. Yeah, the Sonic the Hedgehog guitar.
Oh yeah,
and the freaking axe here.
Those axes are great.
Wow.
Where do you get that guy?
That was really well done there. That was cool.
Yeah. And so but they're like, a legitimate metal band. They write their own music and stuff as well. But they do a lot of covers. And a lot of the music that they write is also heavily inspired by video games. That was Street Fighter.
If you have a Sonic guitar that's like made in the shape of Sonic, that means you're into video games.
That was crazy. It's like
guitar.
Sonic's head.
It's literally Sonic the Hedgehog's head.
I don't know where you get that.
I think the dude with the axe that's a beard, I think that's from Golden Axe. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, yeah.
But there's like the barbarian in Golden Axe.
Yeah,
that has the giant
Golden Axe was a great game.
Yeah. So anyway,
what kind of guitar case do you need for that thing? Is my question. Like, how do you pull that around the gigs?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you transport that thing. Anyway, so a couple other bands. So there's another one called Power Glove.
I've heard of these guys for sure.
Yeah, and they are straight up power metal. But a lot of their music is video game inspired. Let's take a listen to some Power Glove. Mortal Kombat for the Mortal Man.
That's a good album. Yeah, you can hear the influence for sure.
You see,
Wow.
that's not like the actual music from Mortal Kombat, but you could imagine it. You could imagine hearing that while you're playing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's heavily inspired.
Very neoclassical as well.
Oh yeah. No, they're right up there. So it's good music. It's also original content, but you can definitely hear the video game inspiration.
Dude, we also got JP. We got to squeeze JP in here playing Mario.
We
have that clip?
We're getting there. So there's actually.
Right.
So Shred, I actually apologize. There's an entire section I have here that's not on the outline. So
it's a surprise section. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah. So we have one other band. So this is a band we've talked about before. It's actually, these guys might even be in my top 10. I'm not sure. But certainly the singer Sarah Squadrani is in my top three favorite female metal vocalists.
Is she hotter than Simone Simmons? No one's hotter than Simone.
She gives Simone a run for her money, man. Yeah. I don't know. But so anyway, this is the band Ancient Bards. We've talked about them before, and they have their first 3 or maybe 4 albums called The Alliance of the Kings is a concept album. As you can probably tell, high fantasy. And I couldn't find the interview, but I remember reading an interview or maybe seeing a video of an interview with Sarah Squadrani, and she was talking about how they were influenced by the video game series Final Fantasy, going back to Nobuo Uematsu. And you can tell from some of the lyrics, you'll hear things like, my rod is powerless. And it's like, everybody knows in an RPG, it's like your healer uses a rod or a staff, and physical damage is very little.
Is that a euphemism for something else?
No, man, it's euphemism for a rod or a staff.
Yeah.
DPS. So anyway, it's like if only your healer is alive during a boss fight, you're in trouble, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to be able to do any damage to the boss. Anyway, incredible music. Let's check them out.
My friends are on the ground. It's time for me to hit. My own with every breath I
like the grunt.
I feel the power of this all through my veins. Let go the going
gosh.
Can't feel my every cell. I feel the power of this all through my veins.
Now it's talking about like the boss fight here. I just kept going. You can stop it if you need to.
I noticed this clip was longer than all the other clips you sent me.
Well, because there's lyrical references to video games throughout, like their pre-chorus, the chorus, the verse, all throughout it. And so I just put the whole thing in. It's like 1 minute and 12 seconds long. And it's also such an incredible song.
Big production. Big.
Yeah.
Reminds me of like Devin Townsend mixing or something.
Well, interesting side note. So during, the whole pandemic lockdown, Sarah Squadrani has been doing covers of like popular songs. And she did one of Lithium by Evanescence.
Oh.
And if anybody wants to see what not Nirvana, not Lithium by Nirvana, Evanescence, if you want to see what real vocal prowess looks like, go listen to Sarah Squadrani. What she can do with her voice is just masterful. So
love it.
Anyway, Angel Bards, super, super good. So, okay. So that leads us into the whole next segment, which this is a very recent phenomenon because YouTube has only been around for about 10, 11 years. So so you have these bands, all this kind of stuff going on. Then you have the YouTube phenomenons where you have people at home or doing their own thing that are covering video game themes.
You're just straight covering them, but in a new
big
style
deal here.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. There's stuff
cleaning up.
Absolutely. I mean, because some of these people sitting at home are actually more skilled than the people with the record contracts, right?
Yeah.
And so
record contract doesn't mean shit.
Some of these people are big names. Some of them are not big names, and some of them are in between names. There's all kinds of stuff.
So let's check out some Zelda metal by two chicks.
What's their channel name?
No idea.
Okay.
I should look it up. Yeah. I do really like their phrasing on the guitar, though.
The interplay between the two guitars is nice.
Yeah, I really like their lead tone. Not a huge fan of the tone of the backtrack of the rhythm, but their lead tone is so crisp, so clean. Now, as a fun aside, our very own Shredmaster also did a video on Zelda, and we have a clip of it.
Yes.
Listen to that metal.
Now, listen to what he does right here, though.
I was afraid you guys were going to do this.
Listen to this, though.
Are you talking about the lick that comes up here?
Yeah. Right here.
You like that lick, right?
Yeah, the females missed it, right? They were doing
that's a hard. Most people miss that, and in fact, I recorded it and I was like, listen back. I was like, oh shit, I didn't play that right. I was trying to figure out the notes. It was a strangely voiced diminished chord, and then I re-recorded it and did it right. And
well, because I listened to probably 10 different YouTube videos of people playing Zelda on their guitar, and when I listened to yours, I was like, that's new, but it's also
make Koji Kondo proud.
Well, I was like, oh man, that's the real deal. Like, and no, everybody else was not doing that.
The way that it's in the mix, it's not, necessarily the most prominent part, but I liked it so much I wanted to bring it out. You know, it's so dissonant and evil.
It really is, and it feels like your version was so much fuller. The two female shredders, I mean, they obviously, like, the big thing there was just like the clean tone of their licks, right?
Well, yeah, they only had two guitars going, but you're only hearing one of me, but there's actually three total guitar tracks. So I got them by one extra guitar part. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, but that speaks to the depth of these 8-bit tracks. Again, with limited tools, there was a lot going on musically, that they were doing.
Yeah. Well, and the two female shredders, they're actually they each have their own channel, and they came together to make that. Yeah. That was a collab.
I think I did see that.
Yeah. I honestly had never heard of either one of them. But I think they have a lot of views, so they're probably
basically cheating to be an attractive girl and play guitar. Like, you win automatically. So if you are a young woman who's good looking, pick up the guitar and take advantage of some free views. You might as well.
Yeah.
Free advice from Shred.
There it is. Everybody listen to Shred. So we've got one other thing before we hit our featured band. And
Petrucci.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
okay.
Let's hit Petrucci.
Yeah,
quick,
let's hit Petrucci,
because he got in on some of this too. So I guess the point of this is that, like, even big names are jumping in on it, right? Like, Petrucci has no need to throw out a video game theme thing. Everyone knows who he is in metal. He's doing his thing. But here he's got a clip. Showing up, ready to rock.
It's me.
It's for me.
Oh,
John
yeah.
Petrucci
You want to
playing
talk about density of sound?
Oh
That,
yeah.
that tone that he has in this video, it's one of my favorite tones I've ever heard from him. It's so crisp. Probably, actually, a lot of it has to do with Family Jewels, the guy who mixed the track. He's like a wizard at this shit. But yeah, great rendition. I love it.
That is a great render. That is a thick with 2 C's. I mean that. Oh
Yeah.
man, that is a wall of sound.
I'll probably be in the next Mario game if I had to guess.
Yeah. Nintendo should
Yeah,
get.
here's the other thing. Petrucci is a Dago. He's Italian.
Mm.
What does
So-
a Dago
Well,
mean?
yeah,
Well,
Mario's
it-
a farmer.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah. So that works out perfectly. He's got
there
the
you go.
stash and everything, man. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, no, that's awesome. Well, you can't not pay attention to video game compositions anymore because they're brilliant and they're so ubiquitous now. And so, everybody
By
wants.
the way, I want to mention if there's somebody listening who's just obsessed and wants to get really nerdy and geeky about video game music, you got to watch 8-Bit Music Theory YouTube channel. I've watched like all of his videos and just completely obsessed with him.
That's good.
He's so entertaining. He just goes through the music, but he always has like the gameplay going on in the background, and it's a fun watch. Like even if you're not heavy into the music theory, I think you'd like it.
Well, that's a great segue into our last little bit here because so the new trend now is we're actually going full circle 360 degrees. So what's called chiptune metal or just chiptune is when you take current or modern music and you reprogram that back to an 8-bit sound. So here's a little taste of what that looks like with a very well-known song.
Enter Metallica, man.
Yeah. What kind of game would you be playing with that? This could be like a Mega Man.
Some kind of platformer.
Yeah.
Like Double Dragon, maybe.
Yeah, Double
works really
Dragon.
well, though.
Yeah. I love it. There's something about that tone quality that just takes you back.
It works really well.
Yeah.
That's
It does.
very
It-
convincing.
It hits nostalgia on like a double level, right? Because like there's song nostalgia a little bit, and there's then like the tone that makes you almost feel like it's a video game song,
Yeah.
right? It makes it feel like the nostalgia you're having is for a video game, but it wasn't. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get-
It's weird.
Are you on board or are you off board?
yeah,
Do you
like,
get it?
let's choose a path here.
Yeah.
The other thing that's cool about this is it creates a unique sound. You could potentially get a lot of notoriety by arranging a popular song in chiptune because it just it sounds different, and that's what it takes.
Totally different. And I don't know, YouTube might not even be able to flag you because it might not.
Oh, that's another good point. Yeah, avoid copyright. Yeah.
Yeah, you can avoid copyright. All right. So anyway, so featured band time. This is actually really cool. This band came to us. I had never heard of them. Their name is Paladin. And apparently there was a band called Paladin back in the 70s. This is not them. This is a power metal band from Atlanta, Georgia. And this actually came to us as a recommendation last week from, his words, faithful listener, Johan Alexandersson. And he claims it's not his band. We don't know, though. And so we checked them out, and they actually have a song called Awakening, which is based on the video game Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening,
Which I am playing again right now on the Nintendo Switch. Great game.
Yeah. So
and I'm into this band, actually. I was blown away.
no, these guys, they're really, really good. So here we'll check out Paladin.
Paladin!
So it may seem like it's just a waking dream. The people you met, you one day forget. But if you will try, those dreams they never die. The memories you have will live on.
Yeah.
So that tremolo picking just gets me. I love that about power metal so much. Oh man, just gets me going.
This genre, though, needs more. It's a good thing we did this episode. Like, if you're inspired to make more chiptune or, whatever that was, do it.
Well, that's
No,
like
no.
original song, but the lyrics are all about a video game, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think the point of this episode too is like how the video game industry has influenced the music in a lot of different ways, right? There's people covering it in a new style. There's people that are doing things like that where they're inspired by the game to write their own original songs.
Right.
There's people taking songs and turning it back into an 8-bit sound because there was a quality and a uniqueness to that. So it's kind of like a summation. I think it's cool all the intersections there are.
Yeah.
It's creative. It forces people to do something different and work with different tools, and that's a good thing. Yeah,
It really is. Well, this has been a super fun topic to talk about. We just scratched the surface, so maybe we'll have to do a round 2 here. But anyway, thank you.
If you've got thoughts, though, if people got thoughts,
email
us greatmetalpodcast@gmail.com. What do you think of this metal? And definitely check us out on Instagram, as well. Like and subscribe, share with your friends. We're having a great time.
We're having a good time. We're having a good time too. So, all right. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, remember that the world ends with you. So make it metal.